Oh na 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 bam bam. Oh na 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 bam bam. Oh na 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 bam bam. Oh na 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 big it up. Oh na 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 big it up. Oh na 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 bam bam. Bir ba 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 bir ba bir de. Bir ba ba ba. Bir ba mi de. Bir ba 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 bir ba 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 bir ba mi de.
Welcome to Real Estate TV, and we're welcoming you to our program Home and Away Jamaica. Today we are going to talk about safeguarding against contractors while building in Jamaica. My name is Paulette Price. I am a real estate agent, and I am co-hosting the show with my colleague
Robert Taylor of Taylor Law Jamaica.
Okay,
and Angel.
Our guest today is Osborne Angel, and we will be talking to Osborne about his experience while working with contractors. So what we'll do is start off by asking Osborne to introduce himself and to tell us what stage he's at in terms of working with contractors. And then Robert and I will talk to him about the pros and the cons and how probably you should be doing it. So Osborne, tell us more about yourself and your experience.
Well, I'm just past 61. I've been in Britain for 52 years. I've been coming back and forth since 95. And I've got a piece of property what I've had now for the past 16 years. And in the process, I've done all my drawings out, ready to put through to the parish council to come back, or hopefully next year, and start build. If I can find something to buy reasonable, I'll buy. But I see a lot of prices on the selling saga. I'm not too interested. I rather build for what I can build for my price of money. But the one snagger what I've got, what hurts a lot, is seeing how some of these contractors who call themselves tradesmen, who is supposed to be helping, and they're getting good money and they're not performing. Because a lot of people who's building in Jamaica ain't got a clue what is. They see a house, but they don't know what procedure, what saga, what stage to go through. All they know they're paying out is money. And by the time they pay out money, they ain't got nothing properly. Over the past, 10 years or so, up and down on the building side in Jamaica, I worked for myself for the past 45 years, nearly, in England, and coming over back home and seeing such ferocity, it hurts, especially with the elderly. My parents, them age group who come over here late, and the trash was being handed out to them. Some of them dead already before they even move into what they've got. That's what I'm angry about. And other sagas, but starting with the contractors. You're building a nice house for a returnee. The government's not helping. And nobody can tell me the government is helping. The government is not helping. You know, everybody's getting a share of the returnee, but the returnee is not getting a share of what?
Okay, right. What I know, I work with quite a number of people, Osborne, who want to return to Jamaica or come to live in Jamaica. And some people choose to build, but most people choose to buy. And that's because of some of the stories, but just the same thing you're saying, your same experience. But what I have always said to people is you have to engage with the professionals. Most people, when they're going to build a house, they tend to reach out to a contractor. In my opinion, you should really reach out to an architect first. But let us just say that you don't go to an architect first. There are certain questions that you should ask them. Basically, you should interview them and check their skills, because you said you've been working for yourself for quite some time. So one of the first things I would ask is, how long have you been a contractor? And I know the answer will be a long, long, long time. That's usually people's response. But say to them, well, what is a long time? Is that 5 years? Is that 20 years? So eventually you get them to say how long they've been in the business. That's one. The other thing I would ask is, what are the size projects that you've worked on? So somebody said, well, I built a house for Mr. So-and-so down the road, and I built a house down there for Mrs. So-and-so. But as time goes on, you will actually find out that they probably only built 2 or 3 houses. So what you're really trying to find out is, have they built many houses? Have they done large projects? Have they done development? So when you start to get that kind of information, that tells you the size projects that they know, that where their experience lies. All right. And it will also tell you the variety of work that they've done. So if they've done a variety of things, I would start to say to myself, well, they've actually got good experience. I remember when my mother's roof blew off, one hurricane, and this guy said, oh yes, I can redo the roof for you. I knew nothing about roofing, but I did know that when he's done that roof, I was going to bring in a quantity surveyor to look at it, to sign off on it. But then he says to me, oh, we can do a lovely balcony for you. So I said, show me what you've done. You know what he did? He took me to different houses to show me their balconies and said, that's what I can do. I took it one step further. I said, oh, so can I knock the door and speak to the person whose house you've done? He said, no, I didn't do those houses. That was a red flag. I didn't ask. I just ended the work there, because that told me what I needed to know. The other thing I think you should also ask about is their labor force. Do they have a team of people that work with them all the time? Or is it that they hire in people? So I would say if they have a team of people that work with them all the time, they're beginning to get a little silver star going towards the gold star, because they have their own team. What equipment do they have? Do they own their equipment, or do they hire it? Because if you have to keep hiring equipment, that means your job is going to be more expensive, because if they own their equipment, the price is going to be more competitive. What other relationships do they have with other partners, i.e., do they have a good relationship with a hardware company? So that means if they do have good relationship with a hardware company, they should be able to negotiate good discounts on the tiles to tile your entire house. And you know that they should be able to get the product on time, because you don't want to hear, oh, we have to wait 6 weeks to get the tiles. So those are the kinds of questions that I would ask a contractor. And if they fail on all of them, then, or even one, you move on to the next, because everybody can say, I can, but they can't always prove it. All right? So, but going back to what I would say about always using an architect first, the architect would design your home. The architect has relationships with partners such as a quantity surveyor, structural engineers, and contractors, and they all work together. So a lot of the time, sometimes people come to Jamaica and they don't actually know the process, and we can't leave that to government, because government doesn't even really know what's going on. All right. So another thing, though, the other side of it is, we must remember what the contractor should be able to do, but we as the client should also remember what we need to do. So, i.e., obviously do your site visits, but I would always go incognito when I do my site visits. I wouldn't want the worker to know that I'm the person paying the bill. If I go into, let's say, my kitchen and I see that the electrician is putting in 4 sockets, it's not right for me to then tell the contractor, not the contractor, the electrician, to put in 6 sockets, because guess what? All of those things add up. And at the end of the project, you're going to be wondering why he told me it was going to be 10, but now it's 20. That's because you haven't been interacting with the right person. All right? So that's what I would say about how to go about choosing the right professionals to work with. But I think what Robert will then do is to talk to you about the things that can go, if it goes wrong, how do you put it right? What's your redress? Because it's not government. It's not government, it's us. Robert?
Thank you, Paulette. You know, Osborne, we've heard so many stories. Paulette and I have been on diaspora tours in the UK, and some of the stories are so tragic. I really don't want to repeat them, just out of respect for persons who have suffered. But one of the things we learned, and I learned, Paulette lived in the UK, is that Jamaicans living in the UK do nothing without their solicitor. But yet when they come to Jamaica, they rely on advice from relatives or friends or persons who have no grounding or experience in that particular area. And so the first thing you need to do, as Paulette has said, is get recommendations for architects. The standards, architects are registered. There is recourse. There's a governing body and disciplinary body that if you have issues with an architect, you can make complaints. You don't have that option and recourse with a builder, let alone a builder who's just a builder by name, but has no certification or qualification. So, you know, there are a few things in moving into a new environment, you know, the way you need to get a doctor, a good mechanic, you need a good realtor, you need a good attorney. And, you know, there's this perception that legal services are inaccessible because lawyers are going to charge and they're going to bill you. And, you know, the fact is it will end up costing you more in the long run if you don't get professional advice. And, you know, yes, there are attorneys who, you know, may, you know, overcharge or charge for the slight phone call and bill you for minute communication, but there are others who will work with you, they'll build a relationship. And so just seek out an attorney who has that experience. So the first thing you want to do once your architect says, you know, I am recommending this contractor, is engage with a solicitor, an attorney in Jamaica, and make sure a contract is drafted.
Yes.
You also want to make sure that you're not engaging with a single builder. You want to have at least 3 quotations. You know, so whether you use the, you know, builder in your community or you're using an established builder in Kingston, the fact is, you know, any professional will only be able to run their business on a specific markup. And the standard markup is 10% or 15%. So really what you may want to look at having is a cost plus contract, a builder that can break down all the costs, all the quantities that will go into putting your house, constructing your house. And then you say to them, what is your margin? What is your markup? So it could be cost plus 10%, cost plus 15%, cost plus 5%. So never be persuaded by that guy that's going to give you a fixed cost contract, because the developer, the contractor who's giving you the cost plus may say it's going to cost 15 million Jamaican dollars or 100,000 pounds, and then my markup is going to be, you know, $10,000. And you may say, oh, that's high. But then the other guy comes in and he gives you a fixed cost contract and he's at $8 million. Well, he may just be saying that to get the business. And you find that midway through, the quote of $8 million can only complete 80% or 50%. And you have all these issues. You have no contract that deals with cost overruns. You have nothing that deals with a quantity surveyor certifying the bills of quantities at particular stages, because you don't want to wait till you're far down the road. You realize that there's no going back and you're stuck with this contract. So you want to be able to do this in stages. So you have your foundation stage, you disburse under the contract. So there's a price that's attached to the foundation phase, and you disburse $1 million. You move to walls, your floor to ceiling, then you attach you disperse another 30% of the contract. You have your quantity surveyor verify and certify all the quantities. So if at any point there is an issue, you have an exit and you can get out of that arrangement and you can renegotiate with a new contractor. So trying to cut corners, go with a friend from, if you're building land in Linstead or Yuaton, and Jamaica has changed, but a lot of services have not caught up. But there's still a lot of professionals who have and are very good at what they do. And so you don't really want to go back to your community, the community that your family came from, and get advice. You want to broaden your network, speak to a real estate agent, speak to, the architect, as Paulette suggested. Come into Kingston if it's, in no way creating a bias with the rural areas. But the fact is you have a higher concentration of professionals, attorneys, builders, architects within Kingston. They are used to doing large projects, scaling on projects. So you can probably find the kind of advice. And they may say, I work with a contractor in Bog Walk. He's a good guy. This is who I'm suggesting. So don't just come to Jamaica. You come for 3 weeks and you need to get so many things done before you get back. And so there's always that temptation to sign the deal with, the first person or somebody that's recommended. So, the first thing you want to do, never proceed without contract. And so, I won't bore you with all the legalese that will go into a contract, but there are some things that you'll need to look out for. So you hire that lawyer. You probably want to create an incentive to that builder for finishing early. In the end, time is money. You want to make sure that the jurisdiction that you agree on is a jurisdiction, the legal jurisdiction is one that you have control, so that you can get involved in any form of mitigation of risks that are involved. You also want to know, as Paulette says, that he has a team. You want to make sure there are no kickbacks. I'm sorry, that he's not passing off money to this team. So what you're now happens, you're held at ransom because the plumber is on the hook, the electrician is on the hook. You also want to know clearly who his subs are. When you make payments, you want certification from each of those subcontractors that he has paid them. Many times you pass money on, the contractors have not been paid. The work progresses and then they stop because they say, boss, the boss man don't pay me. And then you end up being so far down the road, you feel that you're stuck with this contractor. Doesn't make sense reporting him to the police because you just need to get this thing done and you double pay. So you want to make sure all of those issues are taken into account in the contract. And you also want a mediation clause. You don't want to be going to court. At the end of the day, when there's a dispute, the ultimate way and ultimate accountability is settling in court. But that's time. Jamaican courts don't move the way the UK courts move. And you'll be stuck, caught in court for 2-3 years. There's a cost of hiring a litigation attorney, not the solicitor that advised you before. And so you want to know there's a mediation or arbitration clause, and you can go to an independent arbitrator and have the issue settled. So legal advice, technical advice from professionals, and it can be done. You may also need somebody on the ground, somebody that's trusted, if you're all the way in the UK, who can measure and evaluate, the progress of the project as you go along and split it into phases and know if there's a breach at a particular phase, there's a limited time that's given to that contractor to cure that breach. And if he can't cure it, you're out. And make sure that the contract gives you a clear way to exit. And that you also have some retention, that if the first phase foundation calls for, $2 million, that you're not paying out $2 million, that you take some retention, and that you're not paying that retention until somebody confirms that the works have been completed. Similarly, he needs to have retention with his subcontractors. So if they don't perform, he too has money that has been withheld. So I think I've given you quite a mouthful. I'll turn it over to Paulette.
Okay, so now that you've heard both sides, have we covered the areas that you were not happy with? Do you have any other questions?
Well, thank you, Mr. Taylor. enough to go through, and enough to learn. Although,
yes,
as I said, I've been self-employed for the past nearly good 35 years, and I've seen a lot back in England professionally. I mean, I talk with people with money, and I've seen a lot down here with people. We returnees, we don't have money like some contracts I've been on in England, and we can't go into everything to say what they're doing in England compared to down here, because as Mr. Taylor said, the courts to me drag them foot. If them foot too heavy to do anything, they're not interested, as we would like it to progress very quickly. It not happen, and nothing. What the brutality happening on the island, and put me off one bit to come back home. One bit. I'm all to come back home. All to come back home. So, I'll go through, do my homework as much as I can.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know myself, me gonna there upon my land as it have progress on. Me can't really trust. Me can't say family, me can't say friend to look after something for me. When my hard working money, sweat, hours, day and night, I mean I send it down here. And when me come back down here, wagwan. It might as well me did go and check up in a one shed. Because some rubbish, some things, some hurtful things even come down here this year, and they get locked down for an extra nearly 2 months. Oh,
You're good.
Okay. And seeing some heartaches down here, as you talk of just being overpriced or escalated over the price, it's just ridiculous. I can't understand how a small property can worth more in the value of, it can fit into another house 3 times. It do not make sense. And it rises on my conscience so much to see all that. And life speed, I just hope to be where I need to be, and can build something what I've drawn out already, and enjoy a bit of life. I've been away for 50 odd years. If I can live another 20 years also on top of what I'm here now, I'll be satisfied.
Okay. So what we hope then is that when you're ready to go through the next stages, that you look at us as part of your team. So then what you do, you talk to us, and we can say, well, we know A, B, C, try this one, try that one, because I think more people need to engage with the professionals, like we've been saying. So when you do it and you have a great experience and somebody else is going to come, then you tell them about the people you've had good experience with. I think that's the only way that we're really going to make that change. And it's all about the change. And change isn't easy. It isn't easy. One step at a time.
Paulette, what I would add too is that almost intangible, and you could probably relate to this having lived abroad for such a long time and then return home. The culture is different. And when you are coming into a new environment, it's very difficult to be able to assess someone, their honesty, their integrity, just body language. But when you live in Jamaica for some time, I can sit with someone for 10 minutes and just assess body language, how they respond to issues, that someone living abroad, although they may be Jamaican roots, having lived around other Jamaicans in the UK, come home, they can't make the same assessment.
No,
so you really do need, some guiding light. You need somebody who can help point you in the right direction so you minimize some of those risks that you spoke about. So I agree with Paulette. Engage persons, and it doesn't have to be on a paid committal basis. I think all of us, whether we're attorneys, realtors, we want to see Jamaicans who return home have a good experience. So it's not always about being able to bill you, It doesn't spend half an hour with you on the phone and give you, an unbilled opinion. Because we want the experience for persons who return to Jamaica to be favorable.
Yes, I agree. So do you have any other questions? Do you have any questions at all? Or you just want to think about all of what we've said first and then you'll come back and talk to us? Is that what you want to do?
Well, I'm grateful. there's a lot me could go through, but I'm grateful, and especially picking up on the professional side of Mr. Taylor, because I'm quite intrigued on that, because boy, a lot of us is frightened, don't want to go into the overflow of money into solicitors, and you got to go in with the architect, because the architect is the man who's done the drawing for you. You'd be silly if you not deal with him in that aspect, but it's the solicitor section and the over costs here and there. So, but, I'm grateful, both of you, especially Mr. Taylor. I like to go into some definition with him, because me just want to go back up and turn back around and come back and start out my play.
Well, we're looking forward to you coming.
Trust me. Time.
You're free to give us a call.
Okay, Pa. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Nice one.
You.
God bless. Cheers.
Oh la 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 la, bamba, oh la la.